pleasure to have in the embassy in honor of Black History Month our friend and close contact, Jewell Sparks. She's been resident here in Berlin and has been extremely active in the innovation in technology and in transformation in business and entrepreneurship, in all of those spaces of transformation and innovation. And one of her latest projects, and the one in which I came into contact with her, is her role as the founder of BAAR, the Black African Arts and Residency Program, and a group that has most recently had their first iteration here in Berlin, but I'll let her explain. So with that, I want to introduce Jewell Sparks and welcome you to the Embassy for Black History Month 2023.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, for sure.
Okay, excellent. Getting right into today's topic, something that you're very familiar with and something that you actually founded yourself. What inspired this particular project, and how did you go about finding the American and local artists that became the first cohort of the residency program?
Well, actually what inspired the project was I was sitting in my Zoom corner, obviously, during the pandemic, and I was looking for the first time outside, really looking into America. And I was seeing like this emergence of like all this amazing artwork that was popping up from artists or creators that had not really been noticed or seen before due to, because every industry has its protocol, I guess you would say. But there was this amazing social media outburst of all this art coming from women, underrepresented artists from all across the globe. And then since I've been here in Germany for, I think it's been almost like 9 years now, building innovation programs focused on venture investment and acceleration actually of entrepreneurs, I wanted to do something focused with the intersection of artists, or art, culture, and then innovation.
Okay.
Just for the industry. So that's kind of how that happened. In terms of choosing the artist, we basically had announced via several of our advisory board members that we were going to have a call for artists, and we received actually 180 applications from across the globe from women and African diaspora artists as well as Latinx artists from across the globe. So we were very excited about that.
Yeah, so the idea you had has now taken hold.
Yes.
And did the artists who participated in the first cohort that just ended share with you any particular experiences maybe that resonated with them during their time in Germany or that they had brought with them from the United States? Are there any experiences you wanted to share?
So basically in the end we ended up with 4 American artists that were here, and what they really enjoyed was just Berlin, the culture, the art scene, because obviously there's a lot of cultural institutions that are here, and so they really enjoyed like going to East Side Gallery and meeting other artists, and then venturing out and going to all the different, I guess you would say, like artist supply stores, and really hanging out and meeting each other. And I think when this program occurred, since it was post-pandemic and it was like a time when people started to venture outside of the U.S. more, I think they really bonded very tightly as a result of that, because they were in a foreign country together, and it also was a time where the borders and everything had started opening up, and it was really a good time, and they needed that kind of companionship and communion. So.
Okay, fantastic. I was glad to get to meet some of them. Was it hard, and is it hard, to find allies and partners, whether in the United States or in Germany, for this type of project of increasing the visibility and the sustainability of Black American and Latinx American artists?
Yeah, I mean, we had some, we had partners like earlier on, but I think there's different cultures. I mean, so we were taking into account like the American culture, the European culture, and then the German culture. And I think the one thing you have to really understand the impact and the importance of understanding like the process in terms of how people form relationships. So I would say if we started on the U.S. side, I think it would have been a lot easier, because obviously obviously I'm American, and I've lived in New York, San Francisco, went to school in Pennsylvania. And so it would be a different, I would say forming the partnerships would have been a lot easier. It's like a phone call away. Whereas in Europe and specifically Germany, I mean, as you know, I mean, the relationships, it takes years and years to build. So luckily I had a 13-year relationship with Germans in Germany before I moved here in 2013. But it was definitely a process. And as I said, there were some people that were interested at first, but then maybe things came up that were more local. And then what we also saw is like since the pandemic happened, I think they kind of pulled back a little bit in terms of external projects and things that they wanted to work on. But in the end, we got really lucky and we were able to, form a great partnership with a long-standing nonprofit that's here, the Starke Foundation, which was founded in 1988, and they've had residents there. And so it was really a beautiful partnership there. And then we were also able to partner with a few spaces so we could showcase the artworks. But it is different. The process is different. It's slower, for sure.
Well, obviously I saw the result of it, so I can only help you look back at some of the challenges you overcame to come up with this really transformational and innovative way of bringing these artists into residency with each other, and then of course to bring them out and to bring their works out into the world, which is the next step. What do you hope people who see the art will take away from that, and maybe what have you taken away from creating this innovative and first-time residency?
Okay, I'll start with the second question. So the first, so creating the residency, what I came away with is, I think offering this opportunity, like the reason like I wanted to offer Black artists, Black people, Black Americans, the same experience that I have been able to experience living out of the country. This is like the second time. And there's something very freeing if you think about like James Baldwin, like there's a lot of folks that have said like when they've lived somewhere else, they could be like their true self in a way, and just a different self, like without like anytime you change your environment, I think that you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself, and I think reinventing yourself is like really important. So what I learned is it's very important to continue this journey and to continue offering the opportunity for people to like reinvent or to disrupt themselves, because there's also that saying like you can't really change if you're in the same environment. So like I think that that's important. The other thing
of what people might bring away when they see the result, the really incredible results that we got to see of some of the art that was created during it and that was brought with them from the United States before they came.
Yeah, and that was the best part, them bringing works that they created before they came, and then works they had 6 weeks to create. So if you think about like a traditional incubator or accelerator program, a lot of entrepreneurs, like maybe they are here for like 3 months or they're in the program for 3 months and they're constantly working on their business model, their plan. And this is actually also what the artists end up doing. The end product was 6 weeks they had to create new works of art, and you could see the results of them living in this environment. Like there's like a couple of the works have like the bear, like throughout Berlin you see the bears, you can see like the apartment buildings in there, and you could see that they're creative, like the output was a little bit different because also their personal position was disrupted a little bit.
Hopefully for the good.
Definitely for the good. That's what I'm saying, for the good. It was like everything, sometimes you have to...
A little shaky at the beginning. Can we do this? Is this going to be enough time?
Yeah. Is it enough time? We're in a foreign country. Like, oh my gosh, the lodging is different. Just so many things. The beds are smaller, like everything.
I came away incredulous, so I can give them a high five for me when you see them again. So let's get back to the theme then, bringing this together in terms of Black History Month. Black History Month is one time a year in terms of us shining a spotlight on the contributions of African Americans to American history and culture, to economy, to everything about the United States. But of course, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is every day.
That's right.
It's 12 months a year and 365 days a year. So what do you think the creative world can do as a result of everything that you learned so far during the journey to improve the state of equity in the the creative arts industry? What can we do? What can the creative arts industry do? And what can we as consumers perhaps do?
Yeah, I think what would be great is if we continued on the trajectory that, you know, some industries were forced to kind of go upon when the pandemic, when doors were closed. So when doors were closed, you had to get really innovative and creative in order to have touch points with people, individuals, whether it was like museum comers or gallery collectors, etc. And so I think if we can continue trying to make sure that we're intentional in terms of identifying new talent, creative talent, I think that that's really essential. And so it's not just about, you know, a few women or a few underrepresented artists or Black artists or Latinx artists. It's just really being intentional to make sure that we're constantly trying to identify and look for emerging artists.
Mm-hmm. And not to maybe indulge in tokenism of let's make sure we go to one exhibition or include one such artist, fill in the blank, but really being intentional about inclusion. That's and also about what happens to, what do they see of the output of their own labor. I think that's something that's very close to your heart, is something about making it sustainable such that what they've created, that they can reap some of the benefits from that creation, and that it doesn't only go to an industry rather, but that they would reap part of that. So maybe that intentionality too of when we're purchasing or looking at art or building collections or designing collections and gallery stagings, that we're intentional in who we include and how we represent that art to the world.
And also I think the pricing is, you know, if you look at it, I mean, I feel like a lot of the Black artists, the emerging ones, you know, since people have just now or post-pandemic, or they just became intentional that they were looking for artists, a lot of their works, obviously, when they enter the market, are priced a lot lower. And the interest,
because they're new, they're not
known.
known.
Because they're new, because they weren't known. But that doesn't mean there was a pipeline issue. That just maybe means that intentionality wasn't there, or maybe like people, like whether it's curators or whether it's your gallery director, etc. Maybe the networks, they didn't have the personal networks that know that there's all these amazing artists. And so I think like the more intentional we are, then the more we can get away from the tokenism, and then we don't have to put the hashtags on, you know, if it's a woman or if it's Black, you know, the person's Black or, you know, Latino or Spanish or whatever. And that's really what I hope for. And I think like the more we do this program, hopefully we collaborate with other folks who really want to be intentional, but also they realize the value of being diverse, and not just diverse, but inclusive.
Yeah, thank you so much for highlighting that and for letting us get to witness some of the fruits of that labor on how that was produced as they arrived and as their works were shown for the first time.
Yes.
And I know that you're taking the works on the road into Europe and then eventually to the United States. So with that, I want to really thank Jewell for her time and for explaining the first cohort of BAAR. Everyone should look out for the works that were created under this residency and maybe keep following where that journey goes in the weeks and months ahead. So thank you, Jewell.
Thank you.